When we think of history, we think of events that have passed. Well, how do you bring the past into the present? Find out on Talking with Henrietta, coming up next. By definition, history is thought of as the study of the past. But there are those times when we might think we are reliving history. You've probably heard the expression, those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. So then, how do you learn about history so that you don't repeat the worst of it in ways that make it real? One local history teacher has found a way to bring history alive for her students. Her name is Nanon Balabunyan, and she teaches at Eastside College Preparatory School in East Palo Alto. Nanor was born in Syria and raised in Lebanon for 15 years before she came to the Bay Area in 2005. She attended Palo Alto High School, the University of Santa Barbara, and later Stanford University. Well, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so do you believe that those of us who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it?
It's very important to know what happened so that we can identify patterns and make sure that it doesn't happen right now. And if we can learn from the mistakes and not repeat them.
So give me a pattern. You talk about patterns.
Revolutions, that's a great example. Oppression. In many cases in history, there's an oppressive government that oppresses the people, takes away people's rights and liberties and civil rights. And after a while, the people are fed up. And at first, they might not be able to be organized. After a while, people who might be enlightened can organize them. And once they start being organized, a revolution begins. Then the pattern is usually there's a time of terror where the revolutionaries get out of hand. There's different factions that start fighting each other. And then after that time of terror and confusion and lots of death, sometimes the dictator comes back. And after the dictatorship is over, sometimes it changes into democracy. And then the regime changes and it goes on and on. But different cultures experience this pattern differently. Now, there might be a pattern of revolution, oppression, revolution, and then more freedom, but sometimes it goes the other way around.
Well, as you were talking, I thought of the French Revolution. Mm-hmm. People got upset, fed up, and off with their heads. Mm-hmm. And then we had liberty, libertad, what is it, fraternity. And then, of course, that gave rise to the American Revolution, and that led to democracy. And I'm thinking of other countries. There was the Russian Revolution and then the rise of nationalism in former British colonies all around the world. What we saw, I guess, in the Middle East just recently with the rise of, in Egypt, the expression,
Arab Spring.
Yes, Arab Spring. So what's some of the recent illustrations of that?
Yeah, so revolutions inspire each other. Of course, when one group of people sees another group of people is able to rise up and take control, that's inspirational, that's powerful. In recent years, there was the Arab Spring, where different Arab nations rose up against their leaders. What's interesting, though, is how we view it from America is that these are people rising up against very oppressive regimes, which in some cases is true. The regimes are oppressive. And what we believe in America is that these oppressive regimes or dictators have to be put down and democracy has to come. And that's the only way the problem in the Middle East can be fixed. And while democracy is great, freedom is wonderful, it's great to have liberty, there's a cultural component that we don't always understand, that maybe in the Middle East, the way things are run is different than how we view it here. So as we are seeing right now, the Arab Spring led to civil wars and much more conflict, and we see the reign of terror and French Revolution happening again right now with ISIS, but in a different way. And so history does repeat itself.
And we don't seem to learn very much. I mean, we had the Vietnam War, and you would think that would have been enough for Americans involved in war, and yet we went into Afghanistan and then into Iraq, and so we didn't seem to have learned very much from history, did we?
I'm not sure, but my job as a teacher is not so much to instill a political ideology, but more to just show them what's happened and what's happening now and open them up to different perspectives. So I don't want to give them one ideology or party ideology over the other, but I want them to see what we see in the news is not the full story. There's another story, there's many other stories that are hidden that we need to investigate, we need to find out, we need to experience so that we get the full picture.
So how are you giving your students a full picture and telling them, I assume, about the hidden stories?
Yeah.
Give us a hidden story.
Well, I believe in learning history by connecting and relating to either the people of the past, or if we're learning in the present, learning about connecting with people in the present. So as we were learning about the French Revolution, I wanted to connect them to a current similar case in Syria. Not quite a revolution, it started that way, but then, like I said, it's now just a full-blown civil war. And as we're learning about this event, I had a lot of people who were in the Civil War. I have family, friends, people I know who live there, who are experiencing it firsthand. And I also have lots of family and friends who are refugees, who had to leave the country because it's not safe for them anymore. So as I was thinking about how we can learn this, I said, well, what better way than to Skype, than to have interviews, than to actually get my students with that students and get them learn from each other through pen pal program or through just getting to know each other first. At first, my only thought was Skype. I didn't think about anything else. But really quickly, the Skype turned to something else, which turned to pen pal program, which turned to this full-blown collaboration between East Palo Alto students and students in this small village in Syria. And so I prepared a little video about that, which we can look at. I went to Syria.
Okay, before we get to that, let me just say that we have some of your students in the studio with us now, and we'll be turning to them a little bit later. I didn't know if our audience out there knew that we had an audience in here. So I wanted to at least acknowledge the fact that they are present and they are with us, and we'll be talking with them a little later. Now, you mentioned the video that you compiled, and you can tell us how that was put together.
Yeah, so after the students started this pen pal program and started fundraising for this village in Syria.
And how was that village chosen?
So I have grandparents who lived in that village, and in the summers they did. And just 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, rebel forces and militant groups and ISIS, or parts of ISIS, ransacked the village, burned the village, and left. So I have personal connections to that village. I have friends who work in that village, so that's what I wanted to connect them with. But I had the opportunity to visit the village just 2 months ago, and so my thought was to make a little documentary about what's going on there now, the exile, the resurrection of the village, and life now. So these are footage that I took while I was there to see how the village is doing now. I also asked them how they felt about our students sending them letters and other kind of aids that they collected. So it's a compilation video of East Side students' involvement with the village of Kesab, Syria.
Okay, well, let's see it. We've just now heard a little introduction to it, so as soon as we can get it
So this is called the Misakian Cultural Center, And this center was basically presented to all the villagers here to get a musical education and to get interested in arts. We had here 2 floors, 7 rooms. We had 4 really good pianos. We had 12 computers, and when we came back after March 2014, as you see, rebels burned all this building and it turned into rubble. So all pianos are burned. There's a piece of the piano there, as you see.
Arte İspanya miyam pijama. Yani orada bir gertain kormaya mek kişer. Mama nasta bet chiga miyam mek pijama masan. Pam çari na mobiles na iPads. Amenç arte nes madinero yani güveni madinero var. Amen yankıs madineri kızel. Բայց ամեն ցկեցի իրենց, սկիզբն օրեն շատ զարմացա, հետո երգանք բաբան տեսավ, որ հոս գայրի գոր, դեր նոր գայրի։ Կացինք դում, Դանիկը նորեն տեսավ, որ գայրի էր գոր մեր Դանիկը, ատեն որ չար որ գդրված։ Ես բիցորվեի նորեն ինչ էր գիտար շատ կսիրեմ, գիտար և ասպրանը, շատ կսիրեմ։ Ել և կծել, ուզեմ որ ասեմ ավելի լավ երկել, ավելի լավ սորվիլի և ես ինտերնետեն արդեն կպնդրեմ բարերը գկրեմ իրենց կողս, կսիրեմ խոսիլ անգլերեն, իրենց լեզուն, և միան MBC2 և MBC Max կտիրեմ։ Կարոտել եմ դունիմ հայրենի, դու ամրոցն ես հզոր հայրերի, Դուրն ես դու մեր քնքուշ մայրերի, հայրենիք, աղոթում եմ Աստված բաղբանի։ Ումա դուրն ես դու մեր քնքուշ մայրերի, հայրենիք, աղոթում եմ Աստված բաղբանի։ Օտարություն իմ գամքից անգա, Հայի ոգով ապրում եմ անվավ, Ես կդառնամ ու իմ քիրը քեզ կառնեմ, կփարվեմ, Վախենում եմ կարոտս չառնեմ, Ես կդառնամ ու իմ քիրը քեզ կառնեմ, կփարվեմ, Վախենում եմ կարոտս չառնեմ, Ես խլել եմ, թալանել եմ, գալանել եմ, Քո վանքերը ավիրել են տուն իմ հայրենի, Խաչքարերը արցունքներով կլվանամ, Աղաչում եմ գանչիր թույն տուր տուն տառնամ, Խաչքարերը արցունքներով կլվանամ։
The struggles of being relocated and starting over in a new life. So I ask, what is it like? The constant fear. The fear that the next time you have to move is near. I was just wondering because when you were talking earlier about having to move from place to place, it kind of moved me because I was just thinking like having to move away from like my family for like even if it was like for a better life, it would still be really hard. So it inspired me to write the poem for you.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to say anything, Merik, before I hang up?
Thank you guys so much. It's mean a lot to me to talk to you, to share my story with you. Thank you guys so much. I don't know how to say thanks to all of you, but thanks a lot.
So I made me and Soshi made cheesecakes yesterday to continue helping Syrian Refugees.
Natasha, what did you do last night till 9 p.m.?
Raymond and I, we stayed up last night. We made a huge bag of pancakes in order to support Syria.
How many pancakes did you make?
About 80, I think, I believe, 80 pancakes.
And why are you doing this?
Because I want to be able to not just give back to my community, but to my other neighbors across the world.
How many hundreds did we make?
1,
How many tens?
5,
How many ones?
8,
And how many cents?
36.
And what does that make?
158.
158 and 36
and 36 cents.
So, Eastside College, we really thank you for this photocopying machine. Thank you for the efforts. So now we have this photocopier machine and we don't have any difficulty to photocopy books, to photocopy pages for these kids to learn, to color, and to prosper in their educational life and in their spiritual life.
Hope you like it, Jiro. Got it for you.
We are looking forward to renovate this in near future. So as you see, I'm wearing your sweatshirt and thank you for remembering us and remembering me. I'm glad that we started this relationship with Eastside College and this feeling fills us with joy. Thank you a lot.
Well, when the gentleman in the video waved at us, I kind of felt that it would be great if we could have waved back. The young woman who was singing at the very top, what was she saying?
That's a hard song. She's saying, I wish I could go back home. I wish I could go back home to the land that's destroyed, to the churches that have been taken away, to my home that's broken. And while that's a famous song that we Armenians have had for hundreds of years, it's ironic how Armenians have been persecuted for so long. So just context, we're Armenian, but we lived in Syria since the Armenian genocide. So there was a genocide 100 years ago that took our people away, brought them to Syria, where Syrian government gave them refuge. And 100 years after they come to find resting place, they're moved again. Their houses are burned, their churches are destroyed. And so now the Armenian minorities, who are Christian minorities, like Ava and that girl and that villagers, are rebuilding and finding their homes again.
Any way of going back to their original homes?
It's taken by Turkey now. It's no longer their home. That land that was once for Armenians is no longer there. It's not on the map. Armenia used to be big, and now it's part of Turkey.
And Turkey is having a dispute now in terms of the genocide, saying it did not exist.
Right. There's complete denial that this was not genocide. It was war. It was part of World War I. People died. Too big deal. But it was not intentional. It was not intentional to kill and destroy the Armenian race or the religion. So that to this day, they don't accept it. And the U.S. government doesn't accept it, which is, to me, just a big slap in the face.
Well, aren't there UN resolutions going, and those resolutions, do they acknowledge Genocide?
Well, the UN resolution just states what a genocide is. And if you look at the Armenian evidence and Armenian case, Armenian question, there's full evidence of why and how this is genocide. And many countries have accepted it around the world. Many states in America have accepted it, but our government, because of our diplomatic ties with Turkey, will not accept it. It will call it a massacre, not a genocide.
So in the video, we saw what once was an art school completely destroyed. The computers gone, the pianos, some of them destroyed by ISIS. So did ISIS leave the village?
Yeah, they left. So it wasn't just ISIS. That's what's really confusing about Syrian civil war. There's all these different groups fighting different groups.
And the Syrian rebels.
The rebels, correct. So the group that came and destroyed this took away everything. There's no more art teachers. There's no more even instruments. There's no more classes. And half the villagers left. So half the village is gone. About 50 to 40% of them came back, of the villagers, after the exile. But only to find their homes all broken and ransacked, including my great-grandparents' home. I cleaned my own home with my own hands. It was really hard to see and feel. So most left. There was no jobs, there's no homes. Most left.
And those who came back?
Those who came back are girls like Ava, who there's only most of her friends are gone. She's the only one left. It's hard for her. It's really hard for her to not only have lost her entire belongings in her home, but also her friends. Many people lost their own families. One of the girls who's one of the pen pals, one of the pen pal program ones, she lost her father, and she's never the same. She's not the same anymore. How can you?
So when we hear stories about the Syrian refugees, we're talking about, for example, some of the people from that village?
Yeah. Well, those are the villagers who have lived there for a long time. The Kesab is a village that's been there for thousands of years. Now, a lot of the Kesab people left, but some people from Aleppo ended up coming to Kesab to find refuge, because now it's a little safer in that village than it is in Aleppo, which is where a lot of the conflict is. So many people left their homes, but many people also came to Kesab to settle. But it's not the same anymore.
Sure. What did you hope would come out of the exchange between your students and some of the students who are left in the village?
Well, I would love to ask them and let them answer it. But from my perspective, I wanted understanding and to know that history is just not in a book. It's lived, and there's people behind the pages we read and the news stories that we see that live it, and we need to meet them and see what they're going through, and also get a different perspective than what we only see in the news, which is that the president is bad and the rebels are good. And we need to see also what the rebels have done to village, to see the other side too.
Well, before I ask how we know what the rebels did, I think we probably should go to the students to get some of their reaction. So anyone want to start? And your name?
My name is David, and our reaction to all that's been happening with Syria, it's I don't know, it's just it's crazy to think when I think about myself, I think how grateful I should be and how grateful I am for all I have, because in Syria it's completely crazy and a lot of terror happening. And so when I was with Nanor asked me to start SSS with her, it was pretty cool. And so I said yes, I want to do it, because I thought I could have an impact with them.
My name is Kaino, and what I think about it was very shocking and surprising for me. I felt that what was going on in Syria was something that was a disgrace, and seeing what happened with them made me look at my life differently, as a lot of things that I took for granted, because the life that I live today, I know kids out there probably will never have even a quarter of the things I have, and I wanted to do anything possible to help those kids. I didn't want to feel that I was sitting back not doing nothing when there was something I could have done. And so any small actions by just joining SSS or buying Jiru the jacket, or just help fundraising the money, it meant anything just to help in any type of way.
My name's Rihanna, and to find out what was happening back in the Middle East with Syria, I was really surprised and saddened to find out like all the villages were burned, destroyed, and even raided, and I felt sad, and I felt like I wanted to do something. So when Nanor introduced SSS to us, I joined, and we ended up raising money for the village so they can have a better education, live a better life, and I know now not to take the things for granted I have here. And yeah.
So Rashawn, you're not in her class. You're one of the students at Eastside. Did you have any reactions looking at the video?
I guess, yeah, looking at the video, it was really touching. Just to see like all the destruction and stuff that happened in Syria. I was not aware of that. And I think like moving forward, I'll be like more appreciative of like my own life and take like, I guess, more value in it. Yeah.
I'm wondering, did the projects that you've been involved in with the village, did that give you, how did that affect your opinion about Syrian refugees? They've been in the news a lot. What did you think? Did that change your views or affect your views about Syrian refugees?
With my view about the Syrian, well, most of the things I've seen on the news was just, I didn't really pay that much of attention until I really got involved. But a lot of things I saw was that a lot of countries were neglecting to accept these refugees, and I didn't really think of nothing. Like, I didn't really think that much of about it. But when I got more involved in the projects, and I saw what we could possibly get them away from, and I noticed that our government was refusing to help these people who had no choices. Like, a personal thing that really got to me is I saw a photo of a little child washed up. He was about not even 2 years old, washed up on the beach face down. And that photo took a hard toll on me. And I went on social media and I was trying my best to get these people around me, or people I didn't even know, just people who I was involved with in social media, to notice how much of this thing was going on and how much of our country and our society is so blinded by it. But it just felt like it was something I had to do.
I was really shocked, like Kaino said. I think we saw that same picture in class, if I remember correctly. That really did take a toll on me, like Kaino said, seeing that boy face down. And I really wanted to do something to help. And I was trying to keep an open mind because, you know, a lot of the news is not actually in the news and fake news today.
Same like Rihanna and Kaino. To be honest, I didn't like really like hear anything about like all these refugees and anything until like Nanora had brought it up in class when we were learning all about it. And like I said, like Kaino, it took a toll on me to like see a picture of a boy who just like washed up on the beach because he tried to escape from such a dangerous place. And
Well, it seems what you inspired with the project and making them pen pals and fundraising for the village certainly brought history alive. It made what's going on, I shouldn't even say history, but news events, very real. Not just something that they read about, but something that came to have a certain meaning to them.
Yeah, and I think it's healing for both us and them. I don't like you to use the words us and them, but projects like these or doing things like this unites people from around the world. One thing I asked Jiro when I was there, I was like, what would be most helpful? I know we've helped financially by giving the Xerox machine to the school, because before that they were imagine this, they were handwriting all the things to copy like, because there was no photocopying machine, they were handwriting things a lot, and it was taking a lot of time, or it just, everything was slower as a result. And anyway, I asked him what would be most helpful, and a lot of people said just knowing about us, hearing our stories, asking us questions, letting us tell our story. That's the most important thing you can do at the end of the day. Yes, the financial gifts are helpful and here and there, but I think at the end of the day, what's most helpful is getting to know people and listening to them and finding out what's going on in their lives, because they're forgotten. After one news headline, two news headlines, no one ever talks about them again, and we move on with our lives. But getting students to write to each other and hearing about them throughout the year keeps these memories alive. And I also believe in, sorry, we were going to say, I also believe in keeping our history, because a lot of our students think that history is something that's written and we're not a part of it. This is just in a textbook. But me as a history teacher, I really believe that we and our stories should be part of history. And there's a lot of marginalized groups that never made it into history books. A lot of our students' backgrounds, African American or Hispanic or Armenian Middle Eastern like me, or Pacific Islander, don't have any pages in our history textbook. And we're learning about the world, so I'm teaching world history textbook, and yet most of the pages are on European textbook. It's on European history. And so one of the things that I want them to learn is that your history is just as important as what's in our book, and if it's not in our book, let's find a way to publicize that. Whether we find out about Jiro's story and write about it, or whether we write about your own story, you go and interview your own grandparents and your own history of your people, and publish it online, that this is all just connected. And we need to give people voice who are forgotten, whether that's Jiro and his story or my students and their stories. There needs to be an avenue for those voices to make it in our history.
And it seems to me when we talk about bringing history alive, we're going beyond that, because you're looking at the history, you're looking at what has happened, you're looking at what's happening in the present. But in terms of how we react to it, we're shaping the future.
Absolutely.
So they have pen pals, they use technology to Skype, and what has come out of it? What has come out of the pen pal relationship?
Well, I have it right here. So I just went to Syria and got back and gave their letters to the students, and now I've brought the students' letters to them. And I would like to give it to them.
Sure.
Is this a good time?
Sure. We can have Ori, who's here as our floor director. He can give them the letters.
So this one is for David on the right, and this one is for Rayana on the left. And you guys can maybe read that together.
And they can read the writing of their pen pals. So you want to give Rayana or David the mic, and you could read it out loud, do you think?
Yeah, the letter, what it says?
Yes!
You can understand the handwriting.
Yeah. Dear Rihanna, when I received your letter, I felt really happy. I really liked you, and I'd like to meet you one day, and keep in touch with each other. I hope you achieve your dreams, and I want you always to be happy. Good wishes, Laurel? And it has emojis drawn on the back. It has a heart in the front.
Oh.
It says, Dear David, greetings to you from the port of the world, Syria. I received your letter and I read it with great interest and care. The level of awareness and sense of life you have at this age is very impressive. It feels like I've known you for years. It also fills me with sense of comfort, the fact that people like you exist, people who love selflessly, you know? This makes the world a better place. As I write this, I hope we meet someday and remind each other that God will make a way. He will somehow guide, protect, provide, and love us unconditionally. Be blessed, bro. I have hope that you will become somebody people will cherish and somebody who is driven by Christ's unconditional love, to love and serve others. Sincerely in Christ, your brother, Jiro. Much love to you. And
So
on here-
David,
Yeah.
you finished.
Oh, I was gonna say on here we have Jill put a picture of himself and smiling.
Oh, could you turn it around? Maybe the camera can get a close-up.
Yeah.
So David, since you just received that and you just read it, what do you think about it?
I don't know. All I could do right now is just reflect on just about myself and how much like impact that just SSS by itself has had on Jiro and all these kids in the village who have lost their like families and also lost like the things and possessions. That's all I can do. And it also makes me happy to think that like to like look at this letter and see like results of what has come to be.
How long have you been his pen pal?
I guess from the very start.
Which was?
Which was when Nenora first like had a Skype with him, which was probably before October of last year.
October. Ah, so you've been exchanging letters. Rihanna, what did you think of the letter you just now received?
I felt really heartwarmed by her, and I really liked how she actually liked me, and I love how she actually wants to meet me one day, and I actually want to meet her, and I almost cried reading it, and I liked and loved how she said, "I hope you achieve your dreams."
I assume that was because you told her something about your dreams in your other letter?
I told her, I think I don't remember exactly what I put in there, but I'm sure that I wrote, like, I hope you achieve your dreams too, and that you have your, and you achieve all your goals in life, and God bless you.
Ah. So how many students in your class and how many of them have pen pals? Thanks, Rihanna and David.
About 12 of them have been pen pals now, and more want to. We're going to see how we can expand that opportunity. But I think what's beautiful about Rihanna's letter is the dream part. You know, when we come to America, we have this American dream here, that anything can happen in America, anything you want. And in many ways, and while there are many obstacles for minorities, we really can achieve a lot in America. I don't know if we realize how much we have here. Even the minorities that are oppressed, there's still opportunities to rise, to do something. When we look at Syria, when we look in this village, when we look at Lori who wrote the letter to Rihanna, the kid can't even take a class in art or piano or music because there is none in the near vicinity of I don't know how many miles. The kid can have electricity for more than 3 hours because the electricity comes 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 3 hours off. The kid can't have a regular meal because the market, there's only one market that really sells only limited items. They can't even leave their village to go to the capital because they could be kidnapped on the way. It's very even hard to leave the country. So the opportunities are so limited right now. I can't even tell you. So I love that Lori, even with her hardship, still wished for Rihanna that her dreams come true because they genuinely care and love they have this big genuine care and love for others, even if when they don't have a lot.
How old are they?
Those kids who wrote were about 12 to 13.
And they speak English?
They take English in Syria, but it's very limited English. So a lot of them actually got help from their teacher to write it, and they showed me, they're like, no, is this good, is this good? And they were very excited about writing this well. And what I wanted to show is their generosity. One of the kids, even though she lost everything in her home and everything burned, still managed to send a gift to one of our other students. And it's just a very small, beautiful what do you call this? Bracelet. And, you know, it's not much, but it's all she has. And this for her was really important. And she's sharing it with someone. And I just thought that was really special. If you don't mind, there's one more letter I'd like to read.
Sure.
This is from Ava, the girl who
was in the video.
Yes.
Who was doing the singing.
Correct. Ava was extremely excited to do this pen pal program because she has had a dream of coming to America and be a singer here. But like we saw, she has no singing teachers now. She has no piano. She used to take piano classes. Now she can't because there's no piano in the whole village. There's one now in the church, and that's it. But there's no teacher, so she can't, like, her dream is literally blocked in front of her own eyes. But when she found out about her pen pal, I told her that her pen pal was going through some really difficult issues in his life.
The one here?
Yeah, well, he's not here currently at the studio, but this guy, this boy who wrote from East Palo Alto was going through a lot of his own problems. Ava wrote this very encouraging letter that I like to read. My name is Ava, and this month I will be 11. I like painting pictures of faces, girls, boys, and clothes. In addition, I'm a popular singer in my town. In a few years' time, you will see me singing on YouTube, I hope. I also hope that you will be a very clever and hardworking student in your class. 3 years ago, we left our house in Quesab because of the terrorists who attacked us and stole our house, but luckily we are back. Life must go on. So I want you to be strong and self-confident to be able to face any difficulties of life. God bless you.
So, what's next?
What's next is we keep communicating. We continue raising money if they need that. But I think more than the money, I think this is more important, like they said. The connection, the knowing that they're not forgotten, knowing that even when their friends are leaving, that people care about them. That's what's next for my students and I. And to know of the current issues going on. It's not just Syrian war, there's other big issues. Genocide. We talk a lot about genocide, and I'm sure the students can tell you a little bit what they've learned this year, but there's many genocides that have early warning signals right now that we need to do something about. There's genocides that have happened that are denied that we need to do something about. There are genocides that could happen if we don't stop it. So there's a lot of new other causes, there's new issues. So my hope is that this next year, our students and I can explore some more current events and see what else we can do.
So before the genocides become a part of history, what genocides or those in the making are you talking about?
Well, early warning signals are important. Whenever people are classified, and it's massive classification, then there's the dehumanization.
For example, Muslims in general?
Well, I'm not trying to I want to not be politicized, so I'm trying not to give specific words of which people are being classified and whatnot and who's doing it, but that is an issue. There are groups of people that are being massively classified in different countries, including our own, or people who are being dehumanized in the media or in their regular, in just day-to-day life. And so dehumanization, classification, and just overt racism, these are all early warning signals of something that could be more organized later if people don't notice that's happening and do something about it. So these are important to look into. And we looked at many cases of genocides, about 9 or 10 with the students, different case studies that we can see what those patterns are. So again, that they can identify when the patterns are happening.
Any reactions that you would like to share? What you're learning in class and what you feel about it, what you think should be done?
The reactions I had was very surprising because knowing that there's still those type of actions going on today in this world, and there's people out there who are high in power that could be doing something to help prevent this, but instead they sit back and neglect and act like nothing is happening in today's society when there's a lot of things that can be happening. Like we're small town high school kids that are just trying to get the word out there that these things are going on, and look at the impact that we had on these people and on our other classmates. So if we can just get more and more people, or just higher ranked I want to say, to help prolong our mission on trying to prevent these things from happening or trying to support people, then I feel like that would be really powerful in order to help others.
with SSS, I really hope to shed light on what is going on and, like Kano said, have higher ranked people to hopefully have an impact on this and help us, I guess, clear up the situation.
For me, not just like higher ranked people I want to share this with. I want to share this with my family. A lot of my family already know about this. A lot of my family asked how they could support, and I already told them if they could support like through money or donations or just like spreading the word. And like that's just how it's happened with us. Like the North spread the word about all these different things that were happening, all these different kinds of oppressions, not just in Syria, not just in Lebanon, just like over history, over time itself. And like it's like very interesting and complex, and like how to think that back in early days, such as like when the French Revolution was happening, that such things can still be happening right now. Even, and you would think with all the people that we have in our government and all the people who are so-called smart, I wouldn't want to say so-called, but I want to say who say they make best decisions aren't making best decisions, that they could have more of an impact. Yeah.
Rayshawn, do you have any thoughts you might like to share? You don't have to. Well, you know, as you all were talking, I was thinking when you were talking about some of the leaders and you mentioned higher ranked, maybe they need to hear from you, just like you're writing to your pen pals. What would you think of a letter writing campaign to your representatives? Letting them know what you think, letting them know what you've been reading and what you think they should do.
Me, myself, I think that's a very good idea. Actually, I think we could probably even do that right now, like just write a quick letter if we need to. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea. I think, cause like a long time ago, when I was younger, I've written like letters to the Senate before, cause it was like a school assignment, and like we got responses. So I'm pretty sure if we wrote about something even more like serious or something that's very like known, well not known, but like something that needs to be known, we might get a bigger reaction.
I feel that's a very empowering idea. Just if we take the small people in our group, there's a good amount of us in our SSS group. Just if we could take those people and send out letters, I know we cannot be ignored if we do that. It's going to be an overpowering impact, and I feel like that would actually get us started for where we want to be.
Sure.
I think writing letters back and forth to the Senate would be a great idea to hopefully spread the word and shed the light on the situation, and it hopefully empower a big group of people to have a bigger change.
Rayana and Rayshawn happened to be interns with the East Palo Alto Today newspaper this summer. So maybe if you do have a letter writing campaign, you could put it in the paper. And it may be, well, I don't want to give you ideas like a petition and getting signatures, but there are opportunities and there are possibilities, and it's up to them in terms of how they see things and what action they feel that they can take right where they are.
And that's what I love about this country. When I moved here in 2005, I came right when the civil war in Lebanon, or the second Israel-Lebanon war, was about to start. That's when we came. And I left right when the suicide bombs were happening, right when the prime minister had just gotten assassinated. And I was raised in a country that had been in civil war for about 30 years, and I was in the post-war world. And growing up in a post-war Lebanon, there's very limited resources, from teachers to educational books and just basic needs for the school. And growing up in a school like that, I didn't know what my future would be. I had a lot of dreams, but I never thought that I would have a big impact. When I moved to America, and what I love about the country is the power to do things. And that's when you said write in the newspaper, I was reminded of my very first newspaper class in Palo Alto High School back in 2005 and 6 with Ms. Wachkiki and Mr. Kandel, who told me to write and got me in their newspaper classroom and taught me how to write a story. And they said, you can pick whatever topic you want that you're passionate about, and we will publish it in the newspaper. And I remember first thinking, wow, I can write. And my voice, my issues, my most important causes will be published online for people to read. I have power. I felt empowered. I think it was my first time where I genuinely felt empowerment. And I was only 15, I remember. And my first article was about the denial of the Armenian genocide. And being the only Armenian in my school of 2,000 Palo Alto students who came from mostly very rich backgrounds, and being this Lebanese Armenian girl writing a story about my people and my cause and seeing it published in the Campanile, I can't tell you how powerful that was. And while it didn't get the Congress to pass anything, for me, it was my stepping stone into a journey that was going to open many other opportunities later. So when I look at my students or how I see class, that's what every teacher needs to be doing, giving that opportunity to the students to write about causes that they're passionate about, to make them feel that even if the government is not doing what they need, or even if there's all these obstacles here and there, that they need to push for what they want. They need to push for justice, for civil rights, for things that are right, and for giving people voice that are not heard. So I always be thankful to my teachers, Mr. Kandel, Ms. Watch, Kiki, and all the other supporters that I've had who've given me opportunities to write, to think, to dream, and to just feel empowered.
So history for you isn't simply something that we read, but something that is changeable. It's something that at least you're using it to get your students civically engaged.
As a history is something that we need to be a part of. So we learn history, we make history, and yes, we could change the future history.
So what are you hoping that your students will do from here on? Do you have dreams for them, or
yeah, I want
how you might inspire their dreams?
That's exactly what I want. I want them to find their own causes. They've seen what my causes are, what things I'm passionate about, and they've been excited about them as a result. But now it's their turn. It's their turn to identify the oppressions that they're going to fight against. It's their turn to realize what they're going to be part of, what movement they will start, and then inspire others to do the same.
It's your turn. Any thoughts? Any reactions to what you just now heard? Any passions that have been inspired?
At the moment, things don't come to mind, but while I was working with Nanar and with the group, we went over lots of situations and lots of scenarios and lots of current day things that are going on throughout the entire world. And there was a lot of them that caught my attention. And I know I can go and try and help as much as I can for the different causes and different situations, but I feel, there probably is like one or two that I can focus on my hardest and give it my all and trying my best to just focus on those two. And after I'm done helping those two as much as possible, then I move on to the next couple and just keep going from there.
For me, kind of inspired to even be more successful with myself. And once I get myself successful, or even on the way as I'm trying to get myself successful, I could do small actions to try to help somebody else become successful. And yeah, that's very inspiring. Thank you.
Rayshawn, any passions that you have that you're involved in?
I think for me, I've always been inspired to help people and make people's lives better. I've always thought the best way to do that is through policy. But I see now there's other different ways that you can help people out. And I think during my lifetime, I want to make that my mission, just to help people out. Yeah.
Rayana, any thoughts you'd like to share?
I was really impacted what Nanor did for us and during class, and I'm really thankful for that opportunity she gave us, so it inspired me to keep going for my dreams and always achieve my goals.
So did you have problems when you left Lebanon in 2005? Did you have problems leaving the country?
What kind of problems?
Passport, just traveling.
No.
Because many people in countries, I was thinking during World War II, some of the Jewish people trying to get out of Germany, they weren't able to, or to come here to the U.S., they weren't able to, or the problems that some Syrians have now as refugees getting out of the country into other areas.
We didn't have any problems. We came through legal means. We were interrogated a lot, but I think that's normal procedure. But now the barriers are much higher. People cannot come to the country anymore. My family in Syria cannot leave to come here, not very easily anyway. And during the war in Syria, airports actually were it was a very scary place. There was one time that my aunts and uncles were leaving from the Syrian airport to the Armenian airport, and imagine this, the plane had to turn off the lights so that they could, by hiding, get up in the sky and then land so that the rebels or people won't see them and they won't shoot on the plane. So the plane went up with no lights, nothing, quietly or as quiet as they could, and they could hear a lot of gunshots on the way to get to Armenia safely. And now there are no airports in Syria. So I had to go to Lebanon, take a taxi, get to Syria, because it's just not very safe. But we hope that will change and that Syria will get its airports back soon and life will get better.
Well, I would like to thank you all for the thoughts that you have shared, and certainly you, Nanor, for how you're making history very real for your students, and how we could see the possibilities not only in history and in the past, but what it can mean for us for the future, or even in the present. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And I'd like to thank our viewers for watching. Until next time.
Thank you.
That was most amazing. Good.